Imagine a town called Redemption. Not much happened there. The sun beat down on dusty streets, and the wind whispered through empty buildings. Folks mostly kept to themselves, dreaming of better days. Then came the election. Nobody expected much. The same old faces always ran, promising the same old things. But this time, a new name was on the ballot: Mayor Stone. He was a newcomer, a friendly man with a firm handshake and eyes that sparkled with ideas. He talked about bringing jobs, fixing the roads, and making Redemption shine again. And he had the money to do it. He bought up struggling businesses, hired local workers, and even started building a new school. The people of Redemption were amazed. They hadn't seen this much hope in years. So, they voted for Mayor Stone. And he won. By a landslide. Redemption had a new leader, and maybe, just maybe, a new future. But little did they know about the secrets hidden beneath Mayor Stone's charming smile. Mayor Stone was tall and handsome, with a smile that could charm the birds from the trees. He always wore a crisp suit, even when he was helping to build the new school. He knew everyone's name, from Mrs. Gable at the bakery to little Timmy who delivered the newspapers. He seemed to be everywhere at once, shaking hands, listening to concerns, and offering solutions. He wasn't just a mayor, he was a friend. The townspeople loved him. They saw him as their savior, the man who would finally bring Redemption back to life. But there was something about Mayor Stone that didn't quite fit. A shadow in his eyes, a hesitation in his voice when asked about his past. He was a man of mystery, and nobody knew where he came from or what he did before arriving in Redemption. They only knew what he was doing now, making their town a better place. But before he was Mayor Stone, he was known as Creek, a whisper in the dark, a shadow in the canyons. Creek was an outlaw, a legend whispered around campfires. He rode with a gang of rough men, their faces hidden behind bandanas, their hearts filled with greed. They robbed trains, stole from the rich, and vanished into the desert like ghosts. Creek was their leader, the brains behind the operation. He was cunning and fearless, always one step ahead of the law. His name struck fear into the hearts of bankers and railroad tycoons. Rewards were offered for his capture, dead or alive. But nobody ever caught Creek. He was too clever, too elusive. He was a phantom, a legend, a past that Mayor Stone desperately tried to bury, a past that would soon come back to haunt him. The train rattled along the tracks, its whistle echoing through the night. Inside, passengers slept soundly, unaware of the danger lurking outside. Creek and his gang waited in the shadows, their horses restless. Creek signaled, and the gang sprang into action. They stopped the train with a well-placed explosion, the sound ripping through the quiet night. Men with bandanas stormed the carriages, shouting orders and brandishing guns. Creek himself went straight for the engine, silencing the engineer and fireman. He then moved to the strongbox car, where the real prize awaited, a shipment of gold. It was a daring plan, meticulously crafted, but a plan that would change his life forever. A plan that would force him to become someone else entirely. A plan that was about to set him on a path to redemption or destruction. The gold was heavier than they expected, but the gang managed to load it onto their horses. As they rode away, sirens wailed in the distance. The sheriff and his men were closing in. A fierce gun battle erupted, bullets flying through the night. One of Creek's men was hit, falling from his horse. Creek hesitated, torn between helping his friend and escaping with the gold. He made a split-second decision and urged his horse onward. He couldn't risk getting caught. The sheriff recognized Creek during the chaos. "Creek, I'm coming for you," he yelled. Creek knew he had to disappear, and fast. He left the gang and the gold behind, riding into the wilderness alone. That night, Creek died, and Mayor Stone was born. A new identity, forged in the fires of betrayal and desperation. A new life, built on the ashes of the old. For 10 years, Creek was a ghost. He drifted from town to town, taking on odd jobs, always looking over his shoulder. He learned to speak with a different accent, to walk with a different gait. He became a master of disguise, a chameleon blending into any crowd. He started small, investing in land, trading goods. He had a knack for business, a sharp mind honed by years of planning heists. Slowly, carefully, he built a fortune. He laundered money through various ventures, making sure everything looked legitimate. He'd learned that honest work, or at least the appearance of it, could be the best disguise of all. The gold he had left behind was a small price to pay for a new life. But the memories of that life, the faces of his old gang, still haunted his dreams. And the fear of being discovered never truly faded. Redemption needed a savior, and Mayor Stone seemed to be the answer to their prayers. He paved the potholed roads, attracting new businesses. He built a community center, providing a place for people to gather and connect. He even organized town festivals, filling the streets with laughter and music. He listened to the people, addressing their concerns and finding solutions. He was more than just a mayor. He was a leader, an inspiration. The townspeople felt seen, heard, and valued. They finally had hope for the future, all thanks to Mayor Stone. He funded scholarships for the local kids, ensuring they had opportunities he never did. He built a new library, filling it with books and knowledge. It was his way of giving back, of atoning for his past sins. He wanted to build something good, something lasting, in a place that desperately needed it. He wanted to earn his redemption. Old Man Hemlock sat on his porch, listening to the world go by. Blind for many years, his ears had become his eyes. He could tell who was walking down the street by the sound of their footsteps, the creak of their boots. He knew the rhythm of redemption like the back of his hand, or rather, the back of his ear. He remembered the train robbery vividly. The shouting, the gunfire, the fear. He'd lost his savings that night, money he'd been saving for his daughter's education. He never forgot the voice of the man who'd barked orders, the man who seemed to be in charge. A voice he thought he'd never hear again. Until Mayor Stone came to town. Hemlock couldn't see the mayor's face, but he could hear his voice. And something about it sent a shiver down his spine. A familiar, unsettling feeling that stirred up long-buried memories. The voice echoed in Hemlock's mind, replaying the horrors of that night. He tried to dismiss it, to convince himself it was just a coincidence. But the more he heard Mayor Stone speak, the more certain he became. It was Creek, the outlaw who had stolen his daughter's future. He gripped his cane, his knuckles white. How could this be? How could a notorious criminal become the respected mayor of their town? It defied belief. He shared his suspicions with others, but they dismissed him as a senile old man. "You're imagining things, Hemlock," they said. "Mayor Stone is a good man. He's helping our town." But Hemlock couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. He knew he had to do something, to expose the truth before it was too late. But how could a blind man bring down a powerful mayor? Hemlock couldn't see, but he could listen. He started paying close attention to Mayor Stone's movements, the people he spoke to, the places he went. He used his cane to navigate, his ears to guide him. He learned that the mayor had a habit of tapping his fingers when he was nervous, a detail that seemed out of place for such a confident man. He enlisted the help of a young girl named Lily, who was known for her sharp eyes and even sharper wit. At first, Lily was skeptical, but Hemlock's conviction was contagious. She started following Mayor Stone, reporting back to Hemlock with her observations. Together, the unlikely duo began to piece together a puzzle, a picture of a man who was not who he seemed to be, a man with secrets to hide. They were an odd pair, a blind old man and a curious young girl, but they were determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Hemlock's questions were subtle at first, seemingly innocent inquiries about Mayor Stone's past, but they grew more pointed, more insistent. "Where did you learn to ride a horse like that, Mayor?" he'd ask, or, "That's an unusual scar on your hand. How did you get it?" Mayor Stone tried to brush them off, offering vague answers and changing the subject. But Hemlock's persistence was unnerving. Stone started avoiding Hemlock, steering clear of him at town events. He found himself reliving the train robbery, the faces of his old gang, the fear of being caught. He realized that his carefully constructed life was crumbling around him. The past he had tried so hard to bury was clawing its way to the surface. He could feel the walls closing in, the noose tightening around his neck. He knew it was only a matter of time before the truth was revealed. The thought of running crossed Stone's mind. He could pack his bags, disappear into the night, and start over somewhere else. He had done it before, but this time it was different. He wasn't just Creek anymore. He was Mayor Stone, a man with responsibilities, a man who had made a promise to the people of redemption. He looked around at the town he had helped rebuild, the faces of the people who trusted him. He couldn't abandon them. He couldn't let his past ruin their future. He had come to care for redemption, to see it as his own chance at redemption. The idea of fleeing gnawed at him, but the thought of leaving redemption worse off than he found it was unbearable. Stone was trapped between his old life and his new one, between his desire to escape and his obligation to stay. He knew a reckoning was coming. The only question was whether he would face it or run from it. The town was gathered for the annual Founders' Day celebration. Mayor Stone stood on the stage, beaming, ready to give his speech. He spoke of progress, of unity, of a bright future for redemption. But before he could finish, a voice cut through the crowd. "That's him," Hemlock shouted, his voice raspy but clear. "That's Creek, the outlaw." The crowd gasped, a ripple of shock spreading through the town. All eyes turned to Hemlock, then to Mayor Stone. Stone froze, his smile vanishing. He knew this moment was coming, but he wasn't prepared for it. Hemlock pointed his cane at Stone, his blind eyes seemingly fixed on him. "I know that voice," he declared. "I'll never forget it. He robbed me. He's a liar, a criminal." The air crackled with tension. The celebration had come to a standstill. All eyes were on Mayor Stone, waiting for his response. The reckoning had arrived. A murmur spread through the crowd, a mixture of disbelief and confusion. Some scoffed, dismissing Hemlock's accusation as the ramblings of an old man. "Hemlock's gone senile," someone whispered. "Pay him no mind." But others hesitated, remembering the shadow in Mayor Stone's eyes, the questions he always dodged. They looked at the mayor, searching for answers, for confirmation. Doubt began to creep into their hearts. The town was divided. Some staunchly defended Mayor Stone, pointing to all the good he had done. Others, swayed by Hemlock's conviction, wondered if they had been fooled all along. The seeds of suspicion had been sown, and they threatened to tear redemption apart. The question hung in the air. Who do you believe? The man who saved our town, or the old man who claims he's an outlaw? Mayor Stone stepped forward, his face etched with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "This is absurd," he declared, his voice booming across the square. "Old man Hemlock is confused. He's not well." He painted Hemlock as a senile old man, desperate for attention, his mind addled by age and blindness. "He's mistaken me for someone else," Stone insisted. "Someone from his past." He reminded the town of all the good he had done, the progress they had made under his leadership. He appealed to their loyalty, their trust. "Don't let the ramblings of an old man destroy what we've built together," he pleaded. His words were powerful, persuasive. Many in the crowd wanted to believe him, to cling to the hope he represented. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it was starting to take root. The air was thick with uncertainty. Had they been blinded by Stone's charm? Lily, ever resourceful, remembered an old story about Creek. A story about a distinctive scar on his left arm, a mark he received during a bar fight years ago. It was a long shot, but she had to try. The next day, Lily found an opportunity to accidentally bump into Mayor Stone, spilling a glass of water on his sleeve. As he reached to wipe it off, his shirt sleeve rode up, revealing a glimpse of his left arm. There it was, a jagged, uneven scar, unmistakable. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. She had found the proof. She raced to Hemlock, breathless with excitement. "I saw it, Hemlock. I saw the scar. He really is Creek." The evidence was undeniable. Now, they just had to convince the rest of the town. Lily, with Hemlock by her side, gathered the townspeople. She told them about the scar, about the story of Creek, about the proof she had seen with her own eyes. She described the scar in detail, its jagged edges, its unmistakable shape. Hesitantly, nervously, the townspeople approached Mayor Stone. They demanded to see his arm. Stone, his face pale, tried to refuse, but the crowd was insistent. Slowly, reluctantly, he rolled up his sleeve. The gasp was audible. There was the scar. The same scar Lily had described. the undeniable mark of Creek. The truth was out. The townspeople felt betrayed, deceived. Their savior was a fraud, an outlaw. The tide had turned. The town now turned against Stone. The hero had become the villain. Defeated, his shoulders slumped, Mayor Stone finally spoke. "It's true," he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "I am Creek." A collective gasp swept through the crowd. He continued, explaining his past, the train robbery, the years on the run. He spoke of his remorse, his regret for the pain he had caused. He told them how he had come to redemption, seeking a new life, a chance to make amends. He explained that the money he used to rebuild the town came from legitimate investments, a way to atone for his past sins. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "But I hope, someday, you can understand why I did what I did. I wanted to be a better man. I wanted to make redemption a better place." He stood there, exposed, vulnerable, awaiting their judgment. The truth was out. Creek was finally facing his reckoning. Silence fell over the town, heavy and expectant. The townspeople looked at each other, their faces etched with uncertainty. They had a choice to make: forgive Stone, the man who had brought prosperity to redemption, or hand over Creek, the outlaw who had terrorized the land. Some argued for justice, for holding him accountable for his past crimes. They believed he should be turned over to the authorities, that he couldn't simply erase his past. Others argued for forgiveness, pointing to the good he had done, the lives he had changed. They believed he had earned a second chance. The debate raged, dividing families and friends. The future of redemption hung in the balance, depending on the decision they would make. It was a choice between justice and mercy, between the past and the future. The weight of the decision rested heavily on their shoulders. What would they do? Suddenly, Hemlock raised his cane. "Wait," he said, his voice surprisingly strong. "I have something to say." All eyes turned to him, the man who had started it all. "I lost a lot that night," he said, referring to the train robbery. "More than just money. I lost my hope." He paused, his face etched with a mixture of pain and understanding. "But I've been listening to Mayor Stone," he continued, "and I believe he's truly sorry for what he did." "He can't undo the past," Hemlock admitted, "but he can build a better future." He extended his hand toward Stone, though he couldn't see him. "I forgive you, Creek," he said, "and I urge this town to do the same. Let's give him a chance to prove he's a changed man." Hemlock's act of forgiveness hung heavy in the air. The town waited, wondering if they could follow his example. Inspired by Hemlock's act of forgiveness, the townspeople began to reconsider. They remembered the new school, the paved roads, the sense of community that Mayor Stone had brought to redemption. They weighed the good against the bad, the past against the present. A vote was called. The decision was close, but in the end, redemption chose mercy. They voted to give Stone a second chance. He would remain mayor, but under watchful eyes. A council was formed to oversee his actions, to ensure he stayed on the right path. Redemption had chosen to believe in the possibility of change, in the power of forgiveness. They had decided that a man's past did not have to define his future. They had given Creek a chance to finally earn his redemption. The town had made a choice, and it was a choice that would shape their future forever. And so, Stone remained. He continued to lead redemption, forever marked by his past, but now with a renewed sense of purpose. He worked tirelessly, dedicating himself to building a better future for the town. The council watched him closely, ensuring he kept his promise. He never forgot Hemlock's act of forgiveness, or the town's willingness to give him a second chance. He strived to be worthy of their trust, to prove that even an outlaw could find redemption. He involved the community in every decision, listening to their concerns and addressing their needs. Redemption thrived under his leadership, becoming a beacon of hope in a harsh land. The story of the outlaw-turned-mayor became a legend, a testament to the power of forgiveness and the possibility of change. Creek had finally outrun his past, not by escaping it, but by facing it, and in doing so, he had found his redemption in the most unlikely of places. Redemption had lived up to its name.